Hi there, it's Bill Bishop. Today, we're going to talk about the future of your business in the age of artificial intelligence. And I believe it's going to be an amazing future. As long as you learn the right things and you follow the right strategies and process. So that's what we're going to talk about today is three things. One is, where is AI headed in the next 5 years? What do you need to know about this technology to empower yourself with the right knowledge about it? So you got to know where it's going. The second thing is I'm going to show you how that is going to impact your business and your industry, and talk about how profound that is. And the third thing is I'm going to give you a process to follow in order to develop a strategy and blueprint for AI going into the future, and then how to implement that. So I believe this will be very helpful to you. And I do appreciate you taking the time and attention to focus on this, because I do believe it's pretty well the most important topic in business that you're going to face over the next couple of years. So this is something I've been spending a lot of time on, and I've got lots to share with you. And I appreciate your listening. So what I'd like you to think about is, what is the future of your business in the age of what I call hyper intelligence, AI hyper intelligence? What is the future? And, we don't often think a lot about the future. When we're running a business, we're really focused on the present. We spend a lot of time just dealing with whatever's going on today. And that's very understandable. But as we know, a lot of companies have been disrupted by new technology over the years. We think of Blockbuster and Kodak and those kind of companies, that they weren't really thinking enough about the future and they didn't adapt. And so we don't want to end up like them. Okay, so this is the most important thing to do first, is just to start thinking about this and contemplating it. You don't have to have all the answers yet. You're just going to give yourself some time and space to think about it. So what I suggest as a project is you keep running what I call your old factory. Okay, just whatever you're doing right now. So let's say you're running a taxi company, right? Okay, going back a bit. You're running a taxi company. That'll be your old factory. But you're going to think ahead 5 years. So in this case, 2030. And you're going to think, how would our business be different? How would our industry be different? And if you had done that, you might have thought up Uber, for example, right? So this is the kind of thinking we want to do here. It's like, whatever you're doing right now is kind of like your taxi company. And we're going to contemplate what Uber might look like in your industry or in your business, okay? Whatever that equivalent is. And of course, it's all powered now by AI, okay? So this is why I want to get into talking about all the implications of this and where things are headed. So all of this is based on my book called Dancing with Robots. And I will, if you want, you send me an email. I will send you a copy of this, like a PDF copy, or you can go on Amazon and buy the book if you want. But I will give you a copy of this book so you can read it. I'm kind of on a mission here to make sure that everyone is armed properly for the future, because this will be very disruptive. It's true. Millions of people are going to lose their existing jobs. A lot of businesses are going to be disrupted, but it's just going to open up even bigger opportunities for everybody. Okay, so that's why I'm perfectly fine to send you this book if you want the PDF. So just send me an email, and that'll all be there in a link. You can contact me, okay, if you want to get a copy of the book. Now, the first thing I want to do is just get you to do a little assessment of where you stand right now with AI, okay? And I've created this little scale, and it's from 1 to 10. So if you're a 10, you're like a world-class AI entrepreneur. You are, right up there. Okay. If you're a 1, you're a complete beginner. You haven't even used AI at all. Okay. Whereas 2, you're curious about it, and you've used a little bit, like you've used ChatGPT or something. 3, you're starting to use this kind of regularly in your business. And 4, you're starting to use a lot of the third-party applications that provide some very specific functions, like something like Synthesia to make videos, or maybe Lindy to make AI agents. Maybe that when you get to be a 4. When you get into the next from 5 upwards, that's when you're really starting to embed this into your company. Okay, so decide where you're at on the scale. Most people that I have had have landed between 3 and 4, and I'm saying that that's great, but we really got to get up to 7 or 8 if we want to be in the game here. That's where you want to get to. So this presentation will help you increase your score just by watching this. Okay, you'll end up with a higher score already just by that. So we want to get up to 7 or 8 ultimately. Now, let's talk about the future of AI and where it's all going first. Okay. So the one thing to really understand is that AI is evolving by the power of 4 every 12 months. That means it's becoming much, much more capable every 12 months, and really actually every day, every week. And this is what my impression has been. It's really like I'm just kind of blown away by how much it gets better and better by the week, and all the things that I've been able to do with it in my business. And I can see that evolution. Now, the power of 4 is important to understand. It's not just that it's getting to be 4 times more powerful. It means that however powerful it is increasing at exponential rate of the power of 4. Okay, that's way more than just times 4. Okay, and the word evolving is key because it actually is evolving. It's like self-evolving, and that's what's speeding it up, which I'll talk about in a second. So where we are right now in that power of 4 is we're at an inflection point. So it's sort of like you ain't seen nothing yet situation. Okay. And that's the interesting thing about exponential growth is that initially it doesn't look like much. Okay. It's kind of like you had a chessboard and you put 1 grain of rice on the first square and then double each square. So the next one would have 2, and then the one after that would have 4, and then it would have 8, and then 16. Okay. By the time you got to the middle of the chessboard, you would have rice that would look like the Mount Everest. That's be how much rice you'd have. And then each one after that would get the size of the Earth, and then the size of the solar system, and so on. That's why exponential growth, initially didn't look like much, just 1 to 2 to 4, right? But all of a sudden it just goes through the roof. And so we're just about at that point where it's going to go through the roof. Okay. And that's why whether or not people are awake to this right now, suddenly there's this Mount Everest of AI sitting in their office, and they're going to notice it, right? So we're all going to wake up to this very, very, very soon because we're at that inflection point, right? I hope I explained that in a way that makes sense. Now, what I did, because I like to play with numbers, because I heard this this power of 4 prediction from Jensen Huang. He's the CEO of NVIDIA, and they're the company that makes the chips that run most AI computers. So he knows what he's talking about, right? And so I said, well, let's say that 2023, that was in November 2023 when ChatGPT 3 came out. That was when it sort of went mainstream. Let's say at that point, ChatGPT and others had a horsepower, AI power of 1. Okay, so however we had measured that, of 1. Well, the next year, let's say it was 4, because you can't really multiply 1 by 4 times because it's still 1. But let's just say it was 4 in 2024. Well, at this point now, we're at 256. And that's actually, fairly reasonable assessment that AI is that much more powerful than it was 2 years ago. The thing is, though, is that the year after that, the number gets very large very fast. Okay. And the year after that, it gets huge. And then the year after that, it gets astronomical. So if these numbers hold up in any fashion at all, we're in for a huge increase in the capacity of AI and what it can do and what impact it has. So you see like 1 to 4 to 256, that's not, that's sort of manageable, people understand. But when it starts to go into hyper intelligence, right, then we're in a whole different world, and it's just going to have such huge implications. So I won't belabor this, but the point is that you may have been kind of thinking, okay, well, this is just kind of going along at a leisurely pace. Well, those days are over now. It's going to move along really, really fast. And like I say, it is hard to keep up. I sometimes I find like I just got to take a break, because it's like I'm riding this giant wave that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and faster and faster. And it's exciting, but it's also like, maybe I want to get off the surfboard right now. So it is a little overwhelming. That's how I've experienced it. And now, why is it evolving so fast? Well, one is because it's self-evolving, okay? And what that means is that the AI is now being used to design new AI chips, right? So NVIDIA has now been using AI to design each new generation of chips. So they get to be more and more powerful all the time. And it's at this point now where they don't even actually really completely understand how the chips work, because they're designed by AI, okay? But also the algorithms and all the methodology that AI uses, all the software, it's all being written and improved by the AI itself as well. All right. So this is why this is unprecedented, because it's a technology that's actually improving itself. Okay. That's not like electricity. Electricity wasn't that. There had to be humans to keep improving how electricity worked, right? But with this, it's the AI that's doing it, right? It's kind of creating its own offspring that then creates its own offspring, and so on. There's another concept called zero AI. Like right now, one of the things that was slowing things down, if you could say slow, was that AI had to have humans training it. Basically, the AI would learn, and then the humans would reinforce the learning by saying, okay, that's right, that's wrong, and so on. And you had to use all kinds of data that was out there on the internet or something to train it. But what they figured out was that you can now train an AI from ground up with no data, that they can actually just start learning on its own. It doesn't even actually have to have any real world data. It can just design its own data and learn from that. So when that happened, when that came out, that whole approach, that's when people said, okay, this is going off the charts now. So even the power of 4 increase may be conservative actually as well. So once again, I get it, scary, but also like, wow, what's the potential of this, Now, some people say, yeah, that's fine, but eventually you're going to run out of energy, because, all these computer data centers and so on need energy. They need electricity. So we're going to have to build all kinds of, nuclear power plants or something, right? It's going to suck up all the energy in the world. And that's possible, but unlikely, because what is really happening is that the AI is figuring out how to optimize its use of energy. It's almost like a self-preservation approach by the AI. It's saying, look, if I'm going to get more powerful, in order to survive, I'm going to have to use less energy. So I call it the principle of AI energy optimization. Is that what's happening is that the AI software is becoming more efficient. It's running on smaller and smaller computers and using up less energy as it becomes more and more powerful. So this fear that it's going to use up all the energy in the world may not actually come to be. It could actually use less and less energy to the point where it's kind of almost a non-issue, actually. So that's where I see it going. You can already see the trends of that happening. So the upshot of that is, like I said, yeah, it becomes more powerful. But how does it become more powerful? Well, it becomes smarter, right? It has a higher IQ, if we can measure it that way. And it's thought that it's heading to about, an IQ of 15,000 and beyond. So you take like the, sort of your run of the mill genius, human genius, and 150 to 220 IQ perhaps. We're talking about an IQ of 15,000. So it's like the difference between, Einstein IQ and the IQ of an ant. So we'll be the ants, and the AI will be the Einstein. Okay, but even way smarter than Einstein. All right. So this is the thing, I call it hyper intelligent, because it's getting increasingly more intelligent all the time. Now, intelligence isn't everything. Okay, so you're going to see that we're not completely out of the picture yet. But if you're kind of compete with AI on the level of intelligence, then you're probably going to lose. Okay, so it's not where we want to head as far as our competition with AI. Okay. Now, one of the things that you're going to see is what I call an AI nested stack, nested AI stack. And what that means is you're ultimately just going to have one AI that you'll use, and it will be trained on all parts of your life. Okay. So it's like a pyramid. So at the bottom of the pyramid, you'll have a foundation AI model. Let's say ChatGPT, okay, or Gemini, Google Gemini. That'll be the foundation. So that's the general knowledge AI that knows, what the capital of France is and things like that, right? It knows those things. So that's going to be the bottom layer. The second layer up will be an AI that's trained on your industry, whatever industry you're in, okay, or industries, okay. So my wife, she's a physician, and she uses something called open evidence. So what it is an AI that's trained on all the medical journals. And so it doesn't hallucinate, okay, which was important here. It just accesses the peer-reviewed medical journals. So when she has a patient that has some symptoms, she can look in there and perhaps discover what is wrong with the patient and review what the latest medical journals say about that disease or issue. And she's got the most up-to-date research on that. So incredibly helpful. So every industry is going to have its own model, AI model that's trained on its industry and all the specifics of that. The next layer up is an AI that's trained on your business. So this one is tracking everything that's going on, all the data that's being gathered by your business, right? All the meetings you're having, all the transactions you're doing, all the marketing and so on. It'd be gathering up all that data and will be able to give you insights and advice on what to do in your business. Okay. And you'd be crazy not to have that ultimately, because if your competitors do, they'll take you to the cleaners every day. Right. So you're going to have one there. And then the third one is one that's trained on you, your life, your personal situation. Okay. And you might think, well, I don't want that because that's, my private life, and fine. And you can, train it accordingly, but it may be like training on your, all your health information that come through a smartwatch or something, monitoring your heart and so on, your heart rate, blood pressure. It could also be just monitoring your mood. It could be monitoring, your interactions with people, and as much as you want that to do. But the key thing is it's just going to be one AI that knows all of that from top to bottom, one integrated interface that you will use to do that. And this is what happened with the internet. And when I started off with the internet in 1989, I started an internet company called Bishop Information Group. And we were one of the first internet companies in Toronto. We were providing, internet services. But internet was very fragmented at that point. You had to use different platforms, different software to do different things. And then the web came along in 1994 and created generally this one interface that you could use for everything on the internet. And that organized everything. And that's when it really became very popular. So this is what's happening in AI, is that you're going to end up with this one user interface that will do everything for you. So look for that. And that's when it's going to become ubiquitous and everyone will use it. Like people who say, now I won't use AI, I'll never use it. They're the same people who said they wouldn't use an ATM machine or wouldn't buy things online with a credit card. So eventually everybody does, right? So it's all coming eventually. Now, one thing that's, I think, really cool is that AI avatars will be everywhere. So what's an avatar? Well, an avatar is a representation of a person. It actually doesn't need to just be a person. It could be an animal or something. But these are, avatars in the sense that they're replicants of something. And you can create one of yourself, right? Which I have. So there's on my website, the first page of it, there's an avatar of me talking about things. And that's my, digital twin kind of thing. So they're going to be everywhere. And they're going to become more and more realistic to the point where it might be hard to know that you're actually interacting with an avatar. So I have this YouTube channel I watch, this woman, Dr. McCoy, and I watched it for 6 months until I realized that it was actually her digital twin, her avatar, that was doing it. And she was saying that each time. I kept missing her, explanation of that. But it was so realistic that, and so there she said, look, we put these videos together so I can be off working with my clients and you can be getting this information. And she said, I'm creating the content for it, but the avatar is delivering it. Okay. So you're going to have an avatar. If you don't have one right now, you will. So you can imagine like going into a shopping mall, and there's the avatar on a monitor, and you say, "Where's the shoe store? Where's the restaurant?" And the avatar will tell you. It'd be like talking to a person, but it'll be a digital person, be an avatar. And this is all technology that all exists now, and it's just going to become more and more, popular and available. So we'll all just get used to talking to these avatars for sure. Now, one of the things though, as you just go back to that, is that they will be interactive as well, in the sense that you can create an avatar that's trained on you and everything you know, and then put that out there as a representative you, and people can ask you the questions and you can actually respond. The AI avatar will respond just like you would. So I've already done that as well a couple of times. And it's really spooky because I talk to myself, actually. People think I'm crazy, I guess. But I'm talking to myself and it's telling me stuff that I would have told someone else. So, there's so much opportunity in business for that, as you'll see. The other thing is AI agents. AI agents are going to be like the next level altogether. All right. So AI agents take avatars and put them to real work. Okay. So you can give it a task to do, and it will just go and do that task 24/7 if you want. So I have an AI agent that goes out and looks for speaking engagements for me. It's just constantly looking for them. And then when there is an opportunity and there's a form to fill out, the agent fills it out and then puts my name forward as a speaker. So it's like my, speaking agent, right? And I have another one that's just always looking for prospects for our company and goes out and finds business owners and entrepreneurs and sends them a message and invites them to come into our network or watch a video or whatever is being promoted. And that just works 24/7 as well, just looking for prospects for us. So this has been amazing, right? It's just incredible what it can do. And, the thing is why it's going to work out, is because it doesn't take a salary. It doesn't take a vacation. It doesn't go on strike, right? So this will replace a fair number of jobs. But as I will show, the new jobs will be created, but there'll be a lot of jobs that agents are going to do, AI agents are going to do, that humans will never do again, for sure. So what's going to be the role of you as the entrepreneur? What's that going to look like? Well, I think the best analogy is that it's going to be like you've got an orchestra of AI agents that you built, and that you're the conductor of those, the orchestrator of those agents. So instead of being a manager of people, and/or you could still be a manager of people, but you'll also be a manager or orchestrator of agents, which is basically what's happening with me, right? It's like, here's a task that we need to get done consistently, build an agent, and I monitor what it's doing. And then I have another agent and then another agent, and I'm the orchestrator of those agents. And I'm just keeping an eye on it. And that's my business, right? That's the business. So whereas in the past I might have had, 30 employees, well, now I might have 30 AI agents instead, right? That's basically what's happening here, right? Now, the other thing is really important to understand about this is that data will be your most important asset in all of this, because the AI thrives on the data. It needs data to operate. It needs a knowledge base to work with, okay? So this has two implications. One is that you got to look at what data you have now and say, well, how can I use the AI to work with that data and do something useful? So I have a network of keynote speakers. It's called the 10% Speaker Network. And at this point, we have 700 speakers in this network. That it's a community. And when people sign up for it, it's free. They fill out a form and give us information to go into our directory, our member directory. So it's a lot of information about, what they do as far as speaking, like what's their topic, who do they speak to, how long have they been doing it, do they have a podcast, those kind of things. And we have all that data. That's basically what it is. It's data, right? So what I did was I created an agent to go through that data and find people that should connect with each other, because that's the whole point of the network, is for people to connect and help each other get speaking engagements. So what the agent does, it goes in there, finds two speakers, like one's in Los Angeles, the other one is in Belgium, and says, you two should meet. And it sends them an email and says, this is why you should meet and how you could help each other. And it's thought through that relationship and what's possible and everything, because I've trained it to do that. And so it's sending out regularly these connection emails, and people are connecting, and the engagement level of our network has gone through the roof because people are really connecting. The AI is helping human beings come together to help each other. And it's all because of that data. So when I looked at the data, I said, how can that be useful? So here's a suggestion: is take a look at what data do you already have, and how could you use an AI agent to analyze that data and do something useful with it, right? That's number one. That you got to see that that's actually a huge asset of our business, is all that. The second thing, though, and this is the looking forward part, is say as you create your AI 2030 business, you'd say, well, how can we gather more data, right? Why can't we set up the business to be a data gathering business in some way? Okay. Because the more data that you gather, the more the AI can be useful, right? And create value. So you want to have the business, this 2030 business, be at some level a data gathering business. Okay. This is really important part of the whole strategy around creating an AI type business here. Okay. The data gathering. Now, the other thing is that data can be gathered in lots of different ways. So, we tend to think that it's just all gathered on the internet somehow, right? But from people filling out forms or using YouTube or something. And that's true. But where we're headed now is what I call all world data gathering, which means that the data will start to be gathered from the world itself. Okay. So they have now robots that are set up with all these sensors that basically are just gathering data from the whole world. As it's interacting with the world, it's just gathering up data. Like, what's the temperature? Who are the people that it's interacting with? What are their moods? What do they look like? Are they tall or short? How fast are they moving? Anything that's going on in the world, it's gathering data about that. And this is that's robots, but there's also Internet of Things devices. And we've moved now to the point where we have hundreds of millions of Internet of Things devices out there, and their job is to gather the data. So this is kind of like the eyes and ears of this whole kind of hyper intelligent system that's being built out there. And because of that, in the next year, there'll be more data gathered and generated than all of the years in the past. Okay, so all during the whole information age, computer age, all that data was being gathered. That will add up to 1 year next year. And the year after that will be double that. And the year after that, double of that. So we're going to have more and more data all the time. So this is part of why AI will become more and more intelligent, because it's going to have more to learn from. Okay. And that might sound really scary too. But if you think of the potential of that, is that the more data it has, the more it's learning from, the more helpful and useful it can be. Okay, so data, very important. The other thing is, we have to appreciate that there's a whole other model for AI. It's called open source AI. So closed source AI is like ChatGPT. So it's owned by, Open AI, the company. And when you use it, you got to pay them to use it. And it's like this data center that you go into and use it on the cloud, and and you're using their system. And that's the model that they're hoping will happen. But there's another model where the AI software and everything is just free, and anyone can build their own AI system and train it on their own computers. So this is what happened with DeepSeek. If you remember, with Chinese AI came out, it was actually open source. They said, anyway, you want to download our AI, just download it, and you can run it on your computer and potentially train it on your own data, and even change the software and make it your own type of AI. This was a huge shot across the bow of the traditional business model. So you're going to see more and more of that, because especially when we want to have our own AI in our company, we don't really want to be porting all of our data onto the cloud so that some other company in California or somewhere, or Beijing, can process that information, right? You want to be doing it on your own computer. So that's why you're going to have an open source system probably in your company. And that leads to the idea of private AI. So we have public AI, right? ChatGPT. But private AI is going to be your own AI, and that'll run in your company or in or for your own purposes personally. And it'll be private, and there won't be any leakage of the data or the activity to a larger organization. It'll be private. This is a huge, huge business right now that's going to grow, is companies helping everybody set up private AI in their organizations. This is going to be a very, very big business, because you can see why everybody's going to want that, right? So adding that all up, that this idea of the AI becoming leaner and leaner, self-evolving, open source, private AI, eventually you'll have a AI, super intelligent, running on your device. Let's say your smartphone, if we still have one, okay, because that might change too. But we have this, let's say, on our smartphone, and it's going to be on there, and it'll be as powerful as ChatGPT times a million, and it'll be running on your phone. Now, if you think that's crazy, right? Back in 1978, the first computer job I had was a company called ProFarm. And they had these GIAC 9000 computers. It took up 2 full large rooms. And those computers are like so less powerful than what I have on my iPhone. Like my iPhone is a million times more powerful than what was going on in those two rooms back in 1978. So this is where this is same idea is headed with AI. You're going to have it running right on your phone. The Apple AI system, still work in progress, is actually an attempt to do mostly that. So most of the AI and Apple Intelligence is actually running on your device resident there. So and only going out of the cloud when needed. But eventually you won't even need the cloud. You don't want it. So what's exciting about this is its leverage. Okay, it's such leverage because if you have a team of one, let's say you're a solo entrepreneur, you're the team. Well, now you can operate like you've got a company of 10. It's like you got 10 AI agents. So you're doing the work of 10, right? But not at the cost of 10. If you have a team of 10, it's like you have a company of 100. If you have a company of 100, it's like you have a team of 1,000. So this isn't just about productivity. This is about capacity, right? And what I find is that it kind of goes two ways. One is that it does allow me to do more, significantly more, but it's also allowing me to work less. So I have things that used to take me an hour, and now I can do in 5 minutes. So for example, when I record a YouTube video like this, I would then have to write the description of it and put all the SEO information into it so it could be found on the internet. That would take like half an hour to an hour. And I never was really confident that I was doing a good job. But now I've trained an AI to write that. So it takes this transcript from the video and writes all that description and creates the proper hashtags and all the SEO information. And that's done almost instantly. The only time it takes for me is just to copy and paste it from the AI into YouTube. That's it. So an hour to 5 minutes. And that starts to add up, right? So what I'm finding is that I'm working less, a lot less, and I'm getting this huge increase in capacity, right? And I'm creating all kinds of new value and making all kinds of new kinds of money, and working less. All right. So that's the opportunity. We'll be able to work less. It doesn't mean we're not going to be working. It just means we'll be able to work less. Wouldn't that be good? Now, another thing is that because these AI systems are going to be so smart, is that they're not only just going to be the worker bees for you, they're actually going to be the leaders of your company. So I don't think it's going to be long before there'll be an AI CEO of a company, or at least a co-CEO. So it'd be like, the AI is trained on everything that's going on. You say, what do we should do now? What's our strategy next? Like, what should we do? And the AI says, well, maybe we should, no, not we should. It said, I'm recommending that you all wear yellow tomorrow to work. I'm just recommending it, And you go, why is that? And it said, look, I can't explain it. I have an IQ of 15,000. You wouldn't understand. You can just decide if you want to do it or not. So you go ahead and say, okay, well, we'll do it. So everybody wears yellow. And the next day his prospect shows up. Biggest one you ever had. And his favorite color is yellow. So you get the contract. And you go, amazing. Okay, so then you say, well, what should we do next? And then it tells you something equally weird. And you go, well, we better do it because you seem to be right about all these things. So we'll just do that. So then the question is, who's running the business now? Right? Who's actually in charge here? So there's this idea that, for example, let's say we wanted to cure, well, we do want to cure cancer. Okay. I want to figure finally how to cure it altogether. So you can set up an AI to direct hundreds, if not thousands of human beings to undertake this project. So the AI would say, okay, we're working towards curing cancer. Now, I want you people at Harvard to do this research. I want you people over here at the Mayo Clinic to do this kind of, research on, this kind of protein or something. And it's directing all this research and taking then the results of that and then directing it further and eventually comes up with the solution. So it was the AI coordinating the activities of millions of people all over the world towards a common goal. That's like an AI CEO, right? The other one is something I've already done, which is an AI advisory board. So I got this idea. I said, well, I'd like to have an advisory board of AIs, not just one, but a whole bunch of them. So what I did was I got my ChatGPT to do deep research on 10 top business thinkers, like people who have written lots of books. I said, study like Seth Godin, for example, and just get all the information about him, all the advice he's ever given anybody, and put it in a 50-page PhD level paper on him. And then I took all 10 of those and put them into a knowledge base for a project on ChatGPT. I call it advisory board, AI advisory board. And now I just ask it questions. Say, I'm thinking of doing this, or I'm thinking of doing that. What do you think? And the advisory board, based on all that information, gives me the advice. It's unbelievable. And I don't always take the advice. And sometimes the advice is strange, but many times it's very, very good. And I can even direct it, say, Seth Godin, tell me what to do. Or, whoever, just tell me what to do. Or I can say, the whole group of you tell me what to do. What do you think? So that's something you can do right now. I really recommend you do it. Create an AI advisory board. It's got to be helpful, right? Now, the other thing is that, and this is something that people often miss, is that AI is also going to be connected to all kinds of other technology. So things like the Internet of Things, as I mentioned, right? Or the metaverse. Of course, data, big data. Also things like quantum computers and so on. So all these other technologies are all actually working together. And this is when people start to figure that out, that when the AI revolution will really start to change industries, as I'll talk about in a minute, that's just how I think about it. When I think about the future of an industry, I don't just think of AI. I think, well, what about all this other technology working in concert? How does that change things? That's what happened with electricity. Initially, electricity was slow to take off because people couldn't really figure out how to use it, right? And how to use it in existing factories. It wasn't until they started building factories that used electricity as its primary operating system that you really started to see a change in how things were done. Sort of like example, the Henry Ford auto plants that created the Model T. That was when they figured out, how to do mass assembly using electricity, right? So this is where we're headed here. I think it's going to happen a lot faster than electricity did. So given all that, what's your best AI strategy? Well, the first thing is just to have a strategy, okay? Because most people are not thinking that way. And most people are actually just thinking about how they could use AI with their existing business, which is understandable. But let's imagine it's 1880 and you got a candle factory and they introduce electricity. You say, okay, well, I'm going to use electricity to run my candle factory and, make it more profitable, which is great in a way, but you're not thinking about the bigger implications is that, well, wait a minute, they're going to use electricity to replace candles by creating the light bulb. Because you see, they weren't really in the candle business, they were in the lighting business. But they forgot that. So, but if they thought, no, we're actually in the lighting business, then how can we use this new technology to provide light? So this is what's going to happen here is that every industry has a, peak value proposition, like, oh, we provide light, right? And then someone's going to figure out, well, how do I use AI to provide light? And that will become the disruptor, right? This is like the taxi companies, right? They thought they were in the taxi business, but they were really in the transportation business, getting people from A to B. And then Uber came along and said, well, here's a better way to go from A to B. And that was, bad for the taxi companies, right? But great for the person trying to go from A to B. So what's your AI strategy? What is it going to be? So we created this model, and we think it's a very helpful model, and we use it with our clients. So we help people with the implementation of AI in their business. That's part of the coaching we do. And there's 3 parts to this. So at the center of it is to have a big idea. That's why we call our company the Big Idea Company, because technology without a purpose is useless. Okay, it's a solution looking for a problem. So the big idea is really thinking about, okay, who are we trying to help, and then what's a big problem they have that no one is helping them with, or what's a big opportunity they have that no one's helping them with. And then we start thinking about, well, how can we use AI to provide that value? So that's the first step. That's what we do with everyone in one of our big idea conversations. Say, well, what's the big idea here? Something new, better, and different. It takes everything to a much higher level that people will only be able to get from you. That's the first thing you want to figure out. Then everything else makes sense, right? Because then you go, okay, well, how do we automate everything we're doing right now as much as possible to free up time and do everything more efficiently, right? Because we're going to move into the future. We want to automate anything we can, right? So I've done so many things like that in my business now. It's amazing. The next thing is to innovate, is to say, well, what new things can we do to help our clients with our customers that we haven't been able to do before? So example of that is when we get to stage three of our process, we help people come up with educational marketing material for their business. And we realize, we can use an AI to create a video about that educational material and do it very quickly. So what happens is that we can make a video now in 20 minutes, all about their educational material. And there's also a couple of other ways that we can produce videos now and educational content doing that. So there's a whole bunch of things that we can do now that we couldn't before. And this adds value to our program, right? It's amazing. Easy to do now. So we're doing that kind of thing. But the most important thing at the ultimate end of it is humanate. And this is about making sure that we don't lose track of the human element. So what we see is that because we're saving time on all of these things and providing more value, that I'm actually able to spend more time, deeper time with my clients in the sessions that we're doing. And there's more human time for us and our clients. And so this has been a great thing to figure out, but also to make as the goal, right? Now we're not trying to eliminate humans necessarily, okay? Is that we're trying to make humans better off. That's what we're really trying to do here. So if we lose sight of the human element, this whole thing is not going to work, okay? Because this all needs to be for human beings here, okay? So we have the big idea, automate, innovate, and humanate. So automate, just use it to save time, money, and effort in any way you can. Tons of ways to do that, okay? But if that's all you did, you'd end up maybe like the candle factory, right? So then we have to innovate and say, okay, what can we do to create new value in the world? What can we do there? How can we create new value using AI? And this is where, the new money-making opportunities are going to come, right? Not enough people are thinking about that right now. And then humanate is just to unleash what I call the C-suite of human superpowers. So in my book, Dancing with Robots, I talk about these superpowers and that I actually figured out there's all kinds of things that human beings are going to be able to do because we're freed up by all this drudgery of things that we, don't need to do anymore. All right. So this is what the good news here. So this is a topic of a whole other video, really, but the different things, I call them C-suite because they all start with C, and these are what they are. So one is connector, bringing people together; creator, creating new things; communicator, explaining things clearly to people; combinator, bringing things together that have never been together before; curator, looking and finding high quality resources to bring to the world; coaching, taking people through a transformation process; collaborator, working in groups with AI and human beings and bringing those collaborative groups together; caregiver, providing real help to human beings, because you really care about them. Which then the final one is compassionator. AI can pretend to be compassionate, but it's a software program. Okay, it isn't really compassionate. So true compassion is going to be what we're going to be able to focus on. The more that we're able to free our time up, the more we can promote and cultivate these more higher level activities. And that's really what's going to happen. It just means the AI will take over the lower level activities and we will be able to embrace the higher level activities. Right now, that's kind of being lost in the thinking. We just think it's going to take over everything. That's not the way these things work. It just means that you start finding out what these higher level activities are, and then you focus on them. This is going to be, looking back 20 years from now, people are going to totally see this and they're going to realize this is the greatest thing ever. That's why I say it's an amazing future. And here's a thing, also very positive idea. I call it the Mozart principle. And what I believe will happen is that AI will reveal emergent human capabilities. We're going to start finding out that we're capable of doing things that we didn't realize we were capable of. And I call it the Mozart principle because it is about the technology making that happen. So there's Mozart. He's born, right? And very early on, they sit him down at piano, and they realize he's a genius, and he starts composing all these amazing symphonies. Symphonies. I can't even say the word. Symphonies. But if there was no piano, there'd be no Mozart. So a few hundred years before that, somebody invented the piano. Then along comes Mozart, and there's a Mozart. No piano, no Mozart. Never would have heard of him. Just be some guy, right? So you put a person together, the right person with the right technology, and suddenly you have a Mozart that wouldn't exist before. So we're going to see the emergence of so many Mozarts. It's going to be incredible, right? And that could actually be a Mozart team too, not just one person, but humans coming together to be Mozarts together. This. We don't know what those are yet. We don't know what kind of symphonies they're going to produce, but that's what we're going to be looking forward to. Now, another thing which people find quite fascinating is the implications for the specialist versus the generalist. Okay. Now, in my life, it's been a challenge for me because I never wanted to be a specialist in anything. I had lots and lots of different interests. I was working in computers. I was working in marketing. I was a tennis player. I had all kinds of other interests like reading, writing, and so it's like, what's my specialty? I don't know. I don't have one. So I was kind of feeling lost, really, because it wasn't really respected. The idea was to have a specialty, right? I was always kind of envious of my friends who very early on picked a specialty, like a doctor, a lawyer, or something, an accountant, and they stuck to it, and they had their life figured out, right? And really, that was the economy of industrial age. was everybody picks their specialty, and we have the division of labor, and that's how things go, right? Well, that's changed now because it's the generalists that are going to be the most valuable people. That's this orchestrator idea. See, the thing is that any specialty is the kind of thing that AI can do. It can study what the specialist does, and it can do it better and faster and keep learning that specialty and basically put the specialist out of work. So that's the reality of it. But the generalist can then say, okay, listen, there's this situation in the world. There's these people and they have this problem and they have this opportunity. And I'm going to pull together all these different pieces and use AI to do that and create all kinds of new value in the world and make a whole lot of money. And then when I've done that, I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again. So now the skill and the training has to be, let's be generalists, like know how to do that. Because nothing you're ever going to learn as a specialist is ever going to be able to compete with an AI. It isn't going to happen. But you could be the generalist, and pull all those specialties together. All right. So think about that one, because that's a different paradigm completely, right? We really require different thinking. Now, here's this little reverse pyramid, and it's kind of an interesting thing, and I won't get too into it, but it is about where we're headed, you see? So AI is down at the bottom, data, information, knowledge. But right when you get to the green there, that's when we get into the human level, the wisdom. AI doesn't necessarily have wisdom. And wisdom is about judgment and applying the knowledge properly. Okay, so an AI might tell a doctor, here's what's going on with this patient. This is what just finding out is their problem. But it's the doctor and the patient then has to decide what to do with it. Are we going to treat it? Or are we going to not treat it? Right? How are we going to form your family? What are all the bigger implications of this? So there's a lot of wisdom that goes into those kind of decisions that an AI just can't come up with because it's not a human being, right? So wisdom might have its comeback here, And then we have enlightenment and so on. So that's pretty heavy duty spiritual kind of concept, but I think it's really about values. And I think that AI could help us live more based on our true values. See, when you're scraping and to survive, you tend to maybe lean to compromising your values, right? Say, I just got to survive. I know this is wrong, but I got to do it. Okay. But if you get to the point where pretty well all your needs are met, then all that's left is your values. And you don't have to compromise on them. So we could end up in an age of very strong values, a lot of wisdom, because this is happening. Okay. Now, that sounds very, very, like at this point, sounds very unlikely. But I believe that just having the vision for that is what makes it happen. Okay. So we need to know where we're headed with this and have a positive vision of what the future will look like. Okay. And then aspire to that. And I think this is all very possible. The other thing is just around the idea of reality and so on. We're going to have to really get our head around that. And where I stand with this is, AI says the earth revolves around the sun. And then I go, okay, was that an opinion? Is that a hallucination? Is that true? How do I know that? So it's going to actually force us to become even more discerning about what's true. So right now it's like, oh, truth is out the window. And no, but you see, the fact is that we'll have to go back to the human being and say, what is actually true? Does the earth revolve around the sun or not? And if we realize it does, then we're on the right track. So once again, it's gonna force us to operate at a higher level, which is good. That's good. This is what we need to do. We are higher level beings, right? We are higher level beings than the AI. Now, every industry is going to be changed by this. Okay. if that isn't clear by now, I'm going to put a finer point on it. Okay, it's going to change every industry, and you know why that is? Because right now, whatever industry you're in, there's probably someone somewhere that probably has very little money, was very motivated, and yet has this incredible tool at their disposal, and they're thinking about how can I take over that industry? How can I do that? And they're going to do that. And you're going to be very surprised that they did that. That's what happened with Uber and things like that, right? And that's just going to happen here, and much more dramatically and much more quickly, because this tool is so powerful and so inexpensive. Specific in general, right? It's much cheaper. So we have to be ready for that, and I think you should be the one to do that. Okay, and this is what my clients and I do. Like, this is the people in my program. They're the industry changers. They're the ones that are saying, we are going to change our industry for the better. We're going to make it a better thing, okay, for everybody. And that's their goal. So we're working on about 100 Project 2030s right now, all these different industries. And it's unbelievable what they're up to, these folks. Okay. So you want to be one of those people. So we think about insurance. The insurance industry is going to change so dramatically, right? It's going to be AI is going to monitor, let's say, a building. Okay. And it's going to track the risks of that building. And it's going to assign a risk factor, and it's going to assign a premium that might change by the minute. And it's going to give the owners of the building advice of what to do. And if it follows that advice, the premium will go down. If it doesn't, they don't follow the advice, the premium will go up. So AI will be, the whole, it'd be the adjuster. It'll be, it'll be assessing the claims. It'll be proactive in risk management and so on. Totally going to change insurance. Healthcare. One of the biggest. It's going to change healthcare in so many ways. Right now, doctors are starting to use AI Scribe to take their notes, saving tons of time. Now they have maybe more time to spend with the patients. They don't have to just rush through every patient interaction because they have all this paperwork to do. Now the AI will do the paperwork. Amazing. Not let alone curing diseases and so on. The entertainment industry is freaked out about this, and they should be. Basically, you'd be able to make your own movie. You just sit down and make a movie on your computer if you want, right? And sell that movie. Or even more, you'll just go on to AI Netflix or whatever it is and say, make me this movie. I want a movie like The Godfather that has cats in it. The characters are cats, and it's the Godfather movie. And it'll give you The Godfather with cats. And you'll just find that hilarious, and you'll pay them $10 to watch that movie. That's all doable right now. It's just coming. That's what's coming. So, and of course, the actors and everything in the movies will be AI avatars, and so I'm not happy with people losing their jobs, but I do believe ultimately, when it all settles down, everyone's going to have an even better job. I really do believe that. Building and facility management, that's kind of building on the insurance thing. Buildings will be hyper intelligent. We have a client, Mike Laurie. He's creating hyper intelligent buildings, which are essentially buildings that are run by an AI. You talk to your building like a chatbot and ask it how the building is doing. It says, oh, well, things are fine, but there's a leak in a pipe. The HVAC system's running at 70% efficiency. And there was a break-in last night in door 7. And it'll be able to tell you that. And then it will go and fix those things as much as it can on its own. Amazing, really. Financial services from top to bottom will be changed by AI in every way. Mostly because it's on its base level, it's all data, right? So the data will be used by AI to make investment decisions for people, give them great financial planning, do all kinds of things. But there's lots and lots of things that financial advisors and so on can do with people that are on the humanate level. And we have lots of clients in that industry, and they're thriving because they have really developed the vision for the future of what they're doing. They're not just financial advisors anymore. They're operating at a much higher level of value that they're providing. Retail is going to change big time. Obviously, online will be changed a lot. In-store retail, you could have a AI monitoring the store with computer vision, seeing how our people are, where they're looking at, what the products they're looking at, and what they're picking up. It could start suggesting, "Oh, move the carrots over here and put the cereal over here," because this and that eventually will just completely optimize the store and how it runs. Right. So that's just one possible example there. There's other industries like education and so on, consulting, and it just you start thinking about it, you realize that it's just going to change everything, right? So you got to be ready. So the question is, what do you do now? What's your next step, right? What are you going to do? So one thing is to do nothing. That's a step. If you want, it's a step, and that's not a step, but it's sort of a step. And unfortunately, that's a decision a lot of people make. They say, "I'll just wait and just see how it all goes." Bad idea. If you wait, you're just going to be so far behind, because there's a lot of things you have to know. And there's a lot of things you have to put together. Like, I've been working on AI now since 2017. And I think I only know 1% of what I need to know. Like, it's crazy. I think that's still a lot, and it's been very useful, but I'm determined not to be left behind. So if you think being an early adopter is risky, that's kind of old thinking. Being a late adopter is risky. But the first thing you can do, of course, is what you're doing right now, is be an early learner. There's nothing risky about that, right? But the best way to learn about AI is to use it as much as possible. The more you use it, the more you're going to learn, and the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to use it. So I suggest you train everyone, including yourself, on AI. Don't delegate it to everyone else. Like, you say, "Oh, I'm just going to delegate AI to everyone else." No, you have to know more about it than anyone else in your company. Absolutely. You need to know more, because you need to know how to use it, but you also need to know where it's headed and what you're going to do about it. How that's going to, what decisions you're going to make going forward. The only way you can make those good decisions if you have a good understanding of AI from your own experience. So use it every day for everything you possibly can think of. So what I do is I have all those applications open. I have very readily access to all my AI applications. And pretty well every day, I learn something new about AI, and I go, "Oh, I could use it this way. I could use it that way." So at this point, we're up to, I would say, 7 or 8 on the scale. We're using it in everything we have. We're creating all kinds of new things. We have a vision for the future, just basically because we use it every day for almost everything. I can't really think of anything I do now where it isn't AI somewhere involved in it, in my business, right? And it's all good. It's all been great. One of the things to do, and this is something that a lot of people haven't cottoned on to yet, is that you could say, "Well, I'm going to use it for what I already do. Like, I'm writing emails, and it can help me write emails." Fine, that's the automate part. But the innovate part is to say, "Well, I have a dream. I have something I want. And then maybe the AI could help me get it." To have a dream. So I had a dream that I wanted to have a dashboard for my business. There were people always talking about this dashboard thing. And I go, "Yeah, I want to have one of those." What is that? Well, that's just the one screen I can look at that tells me everything I need to know about my business. How much money's coming in, how much money we've got. What are the, how are the sales going? How many members do we have in our program? How many members do we have in our networks and so on? And just get all that information on one screen that's up to date. That would be amazing. So I asked the AI, could you help me build that dashboard? And it said, oh yeah, sure, let's work on it. So I gave it some information about where the information was, and it wrote a program, software program, and built that dashboard in an hour. So there was a bit of back and forth to test it, and then it got working. But within an hour, it was working, and it's brilliant. And I use it every day, and it saves me a ton of time. But it also gives me information that I probably would never get. And it's taken a lot of the stress out of my business because I can just see what's going on and realize, oh yeah, no, things are okay. But it also makes it easier for me to make good decisions about what to do next and improve things. So by having that dream, I just said, that's my dream. AI, can you help me get that dream? So what's your dream? It could be something small like the dashboard like that, or it could be something really big, really, really big. What's the really big thing? Well, the really big thing is your $1 billion baby, I call it. So there was this conversation going around about who will be the first solo entrepreneur to create a $1 billion business with just AI. So no investors, no employees, just the solo entrepreneur and AI agents and so on. Kind of a cool idea, right? So then I thought, well, why don't I be that person? Well, maybe I could be that person. I could do it, maybe. And I thought, well, how do I do that? I'm going to ask the AI how to do that. So I made a project called, $1 billion baby. And I said, the AI, I want to create a $1 billion business, no investors, no employees, just you and me and AI agents. Help me build that business, will you? And it said, yeah, let's do it. So for the last month or so, I've been working with AI to build that $1 billion business. And we've created a few AI agents now that are running that business as a pilot. And it's very exciting. So I don't know if it's going to end up being a $1 billion business. I can see how I can make some money from it, and maybe $1 billion. But what's most important about it is because I've had this big idea that I've learned more about AI in the last month than ever because I have a purpose here. I'm trying to accomplish something new. So why don't you start your $1 billion baby and say, I want to have a $1 billion business AI. What would that be? Like, can you help me build it? And it's going to say, sure. And it will start helping you build it. Why would you not do that? Okay. Like, this is your opportunity. Everybody wants to get rich, I guess. I mean, this is what it seems. I'm actually prepared to give almost all of that $1 billion to charity because I don't really need that kind of money at all. I don't want to really actually be a billionaire, but I'd like to make that money and then give it to some useful cause, right? So even if you don't want to be a billionaire, it still would be a way to grow a business, right? So you could grow your business human ways, like just do that. Or you say, no, I'm going to have the $1 billion business, you see, with the AI. I think it's a good project. You should try it. Okay. You should try it. And, and when you make the $1 billion, you can say, hey, it was because I was watching Bill Bishop's video and that got me started. You don't have to give me any of the $1 billion though. It's fine. So going forward now, just from a strategic point of view, I suggest you create an AI 2030 vision and blueprint. So most of the time doing this kind of work, it's just putting in the time, actually. That's the strategy, right? Put in the time. So sit down for a couple hours and create your vision and blueprint. And just by doing that, well, you'll have a vision and a blueprint now. You've got something to work on. Okay? If you don't spend the time, you got nothing, right? So it's just about putting in the time, really. That's the primary strategy. Now, if you'd like to put that time in with me, that's fine. I can do that with you. Okay. And we can have an hour-long conversation. There's no fee for it. I call it the Big Idea AI conversation. And I'll give you a QR code in a minute. There's also a link below the video you can use to book that appointment. But in that session, we're going to come up with your big idea, and then we're going to figure out how you can automate, innovate, and humanate. And I think you're going to get so excited about what we come up with there. And sometimes it's just helpful to have an outside person help you come up with this vision. Okay. And then we'll see what happens then. All right. But it essentially is what's going to be your $1 billion baby. What's that look like? And also get you involved, if you want, in our Big Idea Future Network, which is also free. And once you have done the conversation, you can join that network. And this is a community of entrepreneurs that are all working on their Project 2030. So I hope you take me up on that, because I really want to talk to you about what the potential is of your business. And everyone's got tremendous, tremendous potential, because we have this amazing tool now to work with. So there's the QR code. You can use that if you want. Just get your phone out and book a time with me. I don't know why you wouldn't. All I'm really trying to do is help you make money and do something amazing. So let's book that time and see what happens, okay? And so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And I look forward to hearing from you and meeting with you and working on your big idea. And I hope you have an amazing future and have a great day. Thanks so much.